Hey everyone. Hey everyone. Welcome to That's Peculiar. I'm Nathan.
I'm Andra.
And I'm going through second puberty, so that's fun.
That was a great way to start. And I have an episode today. I also have a fun fact.
Perfect. Ooh, a fun fact. I love a fun fact.
I am so excited. I know, but I am so excited to do this episode because you have no idea what we're doing. But I think you're going to love it. I actually made this episode last week, and sorry we had to skip. We had an emergency. And we had to leave. But I made this last week, and I was so excited to do it. We were all set up for it. But this fun fact leads into it, and I'm just curious if you would be able to guess what we're doing.
Okay, I'll try.
So, did you know that Russia is so vast that it spans to 11 time zones? From the frozen tundras of Siberia to the sunny beaches on the Black Sea, a sunrise in Moscow is completely different. And the sheer immensity has always shaped Russian life, culture, stories, and its people. We are doing a famously insane episode.
Is it Mussolini?
Oh, that is a great guess, but no.
Damn.
So, long before Grigori Rasputin walked into the world.
Rasputin?
Russia was a land of contrasts. Are you excited?
We're talking about Rasputin? I love this.
I know. I knew you would. And coincidentally, I just watched Anastasia not that long ago, and I was like, people don't even know this story. That a lot of people don't even know he was real.
Yeah, no, he was really a real person. I don't think to the extent of Anastasia, the movie. However, I actually was thinking about watching that movie recently for some reason too.
You should watch it now. Yeah, always, usually. But you should watch it now, and we're going to get into it. So, during Russia, like, the lands were contrasts. There's frozen rivers, bustling cities, Orthodox cathedrals. I'm just setting the stage here. Russian people love stories. That's something we just need to, like, hang on to, okay? Tales of magical beings, saints, spirits. They had almost a sacred understanding that the natural world was full of unseen forces. Now, I don't know if this is still the case. I have spent 0 time in Russia. This is, like, historically, that is where, like...
You've never been to Russia? Weird.
I have not. The closest I have gotten is hanging out with some Bulgarians and Serbians, and that's it. So I just want to, like, put that up front. Like, they love stories, tales of magic. They fully believed at this time span that, like, unseen forces existed. So let's go into, for centuries, Russian rule. We're doing a little bit of history before we go into Rasputin.
Wow.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm back in school.
Good. Which actually reminds me, do you remember Miss Woods?
Yes.
She was the history teacher that actually taught world history when I was in...
Yeah.
it would have been the same for you. She actually showed clips from Anastasia for Rasputin, which I think is really funny.
I loved her. She was so great. And then she got pregnant and never stopped being pregnant ever again.
Exactly. I think she was pregnant like a year I had her. One thing I want to know, in case she ever listens to this, she had the most beautiful eyeballs I've ever seen. They were like blue-green and super bright. And I was like, whoa, girl. Chill out those eyeballs.
I was going to say, she actually made learning history fun. Like, I liked her and the way she did it so much.
No, she did such a great job. And I probably know the story because of her. So shout out, Miss Woods. You know who you are.
Woo!
Anyways, so for centuries, Russian rulers had been wary of these figures, like, just kind of, like, frightening and kind of, like, anything to do with, like, magical or any of that. Um, Caesars ruled, which I don't know, I think I'm pronouncing that right. It has, like, a Z
The
when I
Tsar
looked it
of
up, so
Russia.
yeah. This
Yeah.
yeah, thank you. So, ruled by divine right, but holy men could disrupt the right simply by, like, appealing in the wrong place at the wrong time, or
Uh,
by proving themselves more compelling than, like, the monarchy itself, which monarchy, in case you don't know, is one singular main ruler, like a king or a queen that rules over all. Um, and their fear, like, it's a world where faith, fear, and folklore kind of intertwine during this time of Russia.
mm,
And the strange,
yeah.
unsettling, and unforgettable story of Rasputin really ties into that, which is why I'm giving any sort of background. So he was born, which is just nuts because if you know his story, it's just like, "Well, dude, you were
Someone had
born
to
like everybody
someone had
else."
to make him.
Yeah. Thank you for understanding what I was saying.
Like,
'Cause I'm like,
what do you
"Ugh."
mean you didn't actually just, like, get birthed from the depths of hell?
Mm. I don't understand that because that concept for Rasputin, no
He
just
was a
kidding.
weird dude. Like, the fact that in the movie they make him out to be, like, this super, super creepy, like, magic dude into, like, the spirit stuff, like, I feel like people don't really realize that he was kind of occultish, and he was really creepy.
And he was that person, essentially. He did not look that different. If you've ever seen Anastasia, Rasputin looks very close to who that guy looked like in that movie, like
And there's one picture that I always think of when I think of Rasputin, because it looks like he has, like, his white of his eyes in the photo, because it's so old, is, like, very demonic looking, and it just makes me
yeah,
think of, and it's so crazy because, like, in the movie, they gave him a reliquary that makes him, like, invulnerable and not able to die, and I would not put it past him to think he had one of those in real life.
yeah. So, think of him without the cute little bat if you're thinking. Um, I'm texting you, Nathan, of what I think it reminds me of, and I wanna see if you remember, but I just didn't wanna say it. Okay, so he was born in a tiny Siberian village
Yeah,
and in a region that was so remote that travelers would take, like, days to even reach the nearest town.
worst.
So, it's also a very harsh life. They lived in winter like, frozen winters, could freeze rivers solid, crops failed a lot, like, death happened often and, like, arrived quickly. It was pretty unforgiving landscape.
I don't understand why people still live there. Like, leave.
Some people are great with that kind of weather. You know how some people like, I loved living in the desert, but
That's
there are
fine.
people like Jack who's like, "I'll never live in the desert."
That, like, the desert is, like, livable, but I mean, like, desolate, frozen, how it can, I don't, I guess if you think of Inuit people and where they live, they deal with it too.
We have a follower, shout out to Michaela, who lived in Antarctica. I
Oh,
got to
that's
see all
so
of her, like
cool. I would
yeah,
never, I mean, I would never go outside ever.
she did, and it was actually hilarious. She posted a video because I followed her back. She posted a video of them, like, closing the door in Antarctica, and they have a room because everything freezes. So, like, they have a whole room that separates their actual door into where they're going because you open the door and, like, everything freezes.
That's too cold.
That is, but also think he was born in 1869. We don't live in that same, like I don't think it still is the same. Like, this is unforgiving failed crops, but, like, we now have things like canned food and shipping food and all of it. I don't know. I understand, I think, why people still live there, but I also
Yeah,
understand if people
it's a
don't
it's
want
a way of
to.
life. It's a way of
Yeah.
life, and like, it's fine. I'm gonna be right back. Keep talking. I have my headphones because I'm gonna go turn up my heater.
Okay. So Rasputin's story, like the tales of Russia told around their, like, their hearse, just like how they stood and everything, it was actually a warning and a cautionary tale. So to understand him, we need to understand not only like the man, but also the world that kind of created him. So Russia was on the cusp of um like being modern, but yet it still had its legends, its saints. I think I had a typo in that. I was like, what does that say?
Modernized.
So yeah, I think it was supposed to say modernized, but I put modernity, and I was like, what is that? Maternity for anyway, doesn't matter. So, still haunted, legends, saints, but, like, becoming a little bit more modern, and it had supernatural fears. So, we're beginning not necessarily in the palace, but in the frozen villages of Siberia. So, obviously, he was born into the world that already felt ancient, heavy, and slow. And in 1869, the year of his birth, most of Russia still lived. Did he a moth just flew into my face.
Yeah.
Did you ask for an unhinged episode? Here you go. Okay, so, um, the year after his birth, most of Russia still lived much as it had for centuries, but it had seldomly officially ended, um the serfdom had officially ended only 8 years earlier, and the freedom it promised rarely reaches, like, villages. So,
Wow.
yeah, peasants were still tied to the land they didn't own,
That's
bond
wild.
by debt, yeah, tradition, hunger, and fear. And religion wasn't just belief, it was also, like, still survival, explanation, and comfort. Truthfully, it was
In
comfort.
in 1869. That is crazy.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah. Thank you for pointing that out. So for anyone who's like, 1869 was forever ago, 1900s, everyone's dead." 76 is when the United States happened. So, like, yeah, but
Yeah.
Russia was in a very different place.
Yeah, that's so crazy. Wow.
Yeah. So he lived in Petrotskavoskoye. I looked it up.
Ooh,
I
I
think
ex
that's it.
I accept. I accept.
Thank you.
That sounded
I'm
good.
very sorry if I'm wrong. So this is his village. It sat along the Tuna River in Siberia, where winters were brutal and his life was like pretty repetitive. Days were built around farming, which, like, to me, this person ever being around animals, I'm like, but farming, animals, prayer, and endurance. Literacy was super rare. And medicine, for a
Yeah.
person who becomes a medicine man, was scarce. Death was common, people lived. I'm just, like, really trying to paint the picture because Rasputin grew up, surrounded around stories, tales of holy people, miracle workers, sinners who became saints, devils who wore, like, human skin. He was
Ugh.
basically not a gentle child, and this is what's getting taught to him. Neighbors later remember him actually as restless, strange, intense. Some even said he stole horses, which some said he drank too much too young, which coming from Russia, I don't know about now, but
Y He drinks too much and he's 10.
can you imagine that sentence? Um, and then, like, others remember him, like, staring too long, listening, like, too closely, almost like he was collecting secrets, which
Yeah,
in a world of superstition, like, that's like, dude, you
that's
stared at me
creepy.
for 2
Yeah.
minutes. His family was poor, but not, like, unusual. What made him unusual was actually how early he became obsessed with spirits. Not quite kind or dramatic kind. He was drawn to stories of sinners who were redeemed, people who fell hard and then rose high. In Russian folk religion, suffering and salvation were like deeply linked. So pain meant meaning, sin meant transformation.
That seems very almost Buddhist, I want to say. No, not
It
Buddhist.
not Buddhist, but I kind of understand what you mean. But like
It's
this is
something about suffering. Why can't I think of it?
I almost actually think it's kind of in my mind closely related to like how Chinese culture views like if you go to war or something, like you better come home dead or with honor. Like there's no I know it's not fully related, but, like, that's kind of how I see it. It's, like, pretty, like, cut and dry, like, certain like, this will either make or break you kinda thing.
Yeah.
So, in his, late teens, something shifted. Accounts differ, and, like, this is gossip. Some say he saw a vision of the Virgin Mary. Others say he collapsed after witnessing violence. Whatever happened, he emerged changed. He stopped behaving like other young men. He prayed loudly. He cried openly. He wandered alone for days at a time. Eventually, he left home entirely and became a pilgrim.
Weird.
Yeah. So, pilgrimage in Russia, in case you didn't know, at this time was not rare. I did not know this. So, it was actually, I don't know why it didn't cross my brain. I think pilgrims, I think America. Which I'm probably pretty stupid for that. So, yeah. Thousands of people wandered from shrine to shrine, monastery to monastery, surviving on, like, faith. But Rasputin didn't wander quietly. He spoke, like, with intensity, looking people in the eye with others, like, looked away, made them feel chosen, like he spoke or preached to them. So, at the Hatur? I don't know, monastery?
Oh.
It looks like Verk, but I learned it's Vek, and it's
Oh,
Hatir, I think, monastery. He encourages or encountered radical religious ideas, which, like, these 2 things should have never met. So, he met fringe groups that believed in salvation came not from denying the body, but from exhausting it. So some believe that only by sinning deeply could one truly repent. Whether Rasputin fully adopted
what?
his belief is debated, but he certainly absorbed the idea of human weakness and something that's like not to hide. And it was something to like transform.
Huh.
So he actually ended up traveling, which this is also something I didn't know about him. He went across Russia to Greece, even to Jerusalem.
Whoa.
And these journeys were brutal. He slept outdoors, begged for food, endured disease and exhaustion.
I did
This
not
is
know
what
that
I
he
think.
traveled like that at all.
So I didn't either. And this is where I'm kind of wondering if, like, in Anastasia, they were like, nothing would kill him. That's kind of what they're talking about. They built his legend, all of these like journeys. So by the time he returned to Siberia, people called him holy. Other called him dangerous because they knew, like, he had just gone through sleeping outside. How? I don't know. So, he married.
Someone married him?
I did not know either. So, he married a village woman and had children. Yeah. And
Oh,
for I did not know.
I am shooketh.
It's funny because the history that we hear of Rasputin, like, starts with him and the king in St. Petersburg,
That's literally
right?
where that's the like
That's like
Rasputin was the holy man to the king, to the
Yeah.
monarchy, to
Yeah,
the
but
czar.
it's like they came out of it's like he came out of the center of the earth, just born. So I've never thought about, like, what his life was like when he was born and, like, growing up, like, what did he do before that? I did not know
So
any of this.
part of
I did
my
not
so
know
part
he
of
had
my thought
kids.
that's what so I think what I thought was Rasputin was he was like an advisor to the czar, but
Yeah.
I was thinking more like Catholic realm as a holy man, which to me was like not married, celibate. Like that's what I was thinking when I thought about Rasputin. I didn't.
That to me is almost the epitome of what I thought. I don't think I thought Catholic.
But that's where my
Actually,
mind went. I don't think it was Catholic, but that's where my
just
brain went.
naturally. Yeah. Yeah. So for a while, he lived like a normal man, working, praying, drinking. Oh, did you hear my phone just go off?
Yeah, sure
It's
did.
all, I didn't get that. Please try again. I was like, well, I'm not talking to you.
Nope. Thanks,
Okay.
Rasputin. You can stay where you are.
Yeah. In the depths of hell, I think.
We're not
So
calling to your spirit.
that was weird. And I'm in an RV that I'm like, whoa, in the middle of the woods on Ibar, which is like, ugh. So for a while, he lived like a normal man, working, praying, drinking, arguing, loving, apparently,
Ugh,
but he
that's what
couldn't
they
stay
say.
still. Yeah. He couldn't stay still and he left again and again. And then he was drawn to a movement, attention, spiritual drama, all that. So, Russia at the turn of the century was a nation basically cracking. Industrial cities were growing, workers were angry, intellectuals were dreaming of revolution, the church was losing authority, the aristocrats were bored and anxious. Mysticism was like kind of where it was at right now. There's like a lot of stuff happening. Like, uh, it's funny that I keep comparing it to Anastasia, but they did a lot of things right. Like, shout out to Disney.
It's not
They
Disney.
really showed Anastasia's Disney.
No, it was Fox.
Really?
Yes, and now that Disney has bought Fox, it's technically Disney, but it's a Fox movie.
Oh, well, Fox got a lot of things right. Thank God for Nathan here, knowing his princess movies.
That's why you
Uh
never see Anastasia as a Disney princess because she's not a Disney princess. She was Fox.
oh my God. I actually had a whole like talk with Jack about this, and I was like, she was maybe my favorite princess, and I was like, why don't they include her? And I kept like, I
Cause
was like,
she's not.
and then he was telling me that he loves the Princess and the Pea. Is that what it's called? I've never seen it. Princess and
Yeah.
the Frog?
Princess and the Frog? The prince.
I don't know.
Yeah, you're talking about with Tiana.
Yeah, okay, Tiana's his favorite. So we had
Okay.
this whole debate, and I was like, "Why is Anastasia not included? That makes so much more sense. She's not Disney." Okay.
No, you're welcome. To anybody who still thinks that Anastasia is Disney, she's not.
And why is she not included? We don't know. No, we do
Now we
know.
do.
We do know. So when Rasputin arrived in St. Petersburg, oh, sorry. Second tangent. So what I was saying about it is think of that city when you're thinking of Anastasia. Like it had a lot of like I think it even had tarot card readers. It had like the idea of like seances. People were like I mean, they were auditioning to play Anastasia, and, like, the queen had interviewed a lot of Anastasias, like, that stuff, that embodiment that, like, was in that movie is what was kind of happening. So
Yeah,
when
I
Ras
could see that. Yeah.
kind of, like, chaotic, like, things are kind of at odds, like, who's in charge? We don't really know right now. So when Rasputin arrived in St. Petersburg around 1903, basically, he looked like a ghost from another century,
Okay, so he
unwashed
was in
boots.
his mid-30s.
Yeah, unwashed boots, wild hair, which, like, we all know, piercing eyes. This is a
Yeah, yeah,
historical reference
yeah.
that describes his eyes as piercing. But what shocked people was not his appearance, it was actually how they felt when he spoke. So, women said he made them feel seen, like, as women. Men said he made them feel uneasy. Priests said they made him feel made faith feel dangerous again.
Dangerous again.
Yeah. High-ranking, clergy introduced him to noble women who were fascinated by holy men. He prayed over them, touched their heads, whispered that God had chosen them for suffering, and, like, he started getting that culty following. Many people became devoted to him. Through them, he moved closer and closer to the palace.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yuck.
The Romanovs were already spiritually desperate. Tsar Nicholas II was gentle and decisive, but deeply religious. His wife Alexandra was a little bit more intense, nervous, isolated, convinced God spoke directly through signs. Their only son, um, I think it's Alexei, is how I
Lexi.
looked it up. Yeah, I think it's Alexei. He was sick with actually hemophilia, which I meant
Hemophilia?
yeah, I meant to look that up. What is that?
I think it's excessive bleeding where your blood doesn't
Okay,
clot.
that checks out because it says every bruise was like a terror for them. Like every
Yeah.
fall could be his like death. Um, Doctors could basically do nothing for him. And then when Rasputin prayed over Alexei and the bleeding slowed, Alexandra believed God sent him. So when Rasputin wrote letters saying, "Do not let doctors touch him," and Alexei improved, her faith hardened into obsession. She wrote to Rasputin constantly and started to trust him. Yeah. So
Wild. I that
I had
what?
always I had actually always wondered. I was like, why did these people make him their holy man?
Yeah, how they trust him.
Yeah, I never understood, but now I do. So Rasputin told her that Russia's fate was tied to her son, and her son's fate was tied to him. That sentence apparently is what changed history, because from then on, Rasputin was no longer just a holy man. He was a political force because Alexandra was she had a sick child, and she had a person who kind of, in my mind, took that and ran with it.
Yeah.
So anyone who wanted him oh, sorry, he was a political force now, he was never, like, held in office, but anyone who had influence had to deal with him. Anyone who wanted him to gone had to fight the empress herself.
That's
So,
crazy.
yeah. Outside the palace, though, the stories grew darker about him. People said Rasputin drank all night and prayed all morning, that he touched women in public,
Well,
that
okay,
he
so going to him drinking all night and praying all morning, I could see that because he believed that the best way to redemption is through sinning.
right? But did he touch women in public? Probably also.
I mean, I could
It
see that too, because the best way to redemption is through sinning.
said he told followers that sleeping with him brought salvation,
Ew,
that
gross.
he cried during sex and laughed during prayer, which, like thank you! I was actually like, that sentence makes me uncomfortable, and I didn't even wanna say it, so
Ew.
ew. Some of this was
Ooh.
obviously, like, propaganda, but some was probably true, like, it's just kind of picking through what was true.
When you
Uh,
s but when earlier when you said that he had changed as a person and started openly crying and bloody blah, I was thinking and when you said that he would cry during sex, I'm like, "That would check out." If
right.
he's openly crying, he would cry.
Can you imagine though, just like, what did he say to women supposedly that sleeping with him brought salvation?
Brought salvation.
And then he's just like a weeping I'm not trying to like make anything bad, but I'm like, oh, like,
Ew, gross.
bleh.
Icky.
So, I know. When World War I came, Russia obviously bled, millions died, food vanished, workers
Yes.
rioted. Nicholas, which is the guy running everything, left to command the army, leaving Alexandra in charge.
Who put way too much faith in
And
Rasputin.
so she listened to Rasputin. Ministers rose and fell literally by his word. Competence mattered less than loyalty. The government became a carousel of weak men. Newspapers called it ministerial leapfrog. Like, people were like, "This is just madness."
Ew.
So, a politician stood in the Duma and shouted, "While Rasputin lives, we cannot win." Yeah, so people blamed him for basically everything. I also want to play devil's advocate in this. Like, he was painted a picture of a villain, whether he necessarily was a villain or not. He was different. He showed up with dirty boots. I'm playing devil's advocate for now. So
Okay,
people blamed
on
him for everything.
against your devil's advocacy, though, I mean, think about it in a way of most he came from a very humble, meager start, and
Yeah.
now this bro lives in the palace.
Yeah.
It's about power and control. So he would probably do anything and say anything to make sure that he kept it.
I mean, that's why people that were weak were in office, people that would listen to him.
Yes. I mean, it seems poignant in today's world.
Yeah. So people blamed him for everything: defeat, hunger, corruption, shame. But he became a symbol, not necessarily the cause of collapse, but like the face of it. So in 1914, a woman stabbed him in the stomach. He
Okay.
fucking survived. And people whispered after he was stabbed that he can't die. In 1916,
Mhm.
nobles
Okay.
decided he must die. Not for revenge necessarily, but to save the empire. They invited him to a palace, poisoned him, shot him again, threw him into a frozen river, and later, doctors said he died from bullets. Do you realize it was gonna, like, shift so abruptly?
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, um, basically, doctors said he died from bullets, but the myth had already won, like the man who would not die. So within months, the empire fell anyways. The royal family was imprisoned and
Yes.
executed, as we all know.
Yes.
Rasputin technically did not destroy Russia, but he showed everyone what it had become. It's like a lost nation that had trusted mystics and, faith over reason, charisma. So while he was not magic, he did die. Russia did not like necessarily what it saw when they saw like the mirror turn back on them. Basically, he was just kind of like the awakening of all of this. So even after his death, Rasputin did not disappear. In some ways, he actually became kind of more powerful. When his body was pulled from the Neva River, frozen, bruised, riddled with bullets,
Even
which, like,
bullet holes.
it also is, like, terrible. He was invited to a palace, and they literally, like, they were like, "He won't die. Poison shot him." Like, all scary movies should learn from that. Like, just double check, double down on that.
Do all the things.
Do all of it. Poison,
Yeah,
shoot him
he
again,
won't
throw him in a
he
frozen
won't
river.
die, the bullets won't do anything. Have you tried cutting his head off?
Um, so when his body was pulled, um, basically the government tried to keep the burial quiet, but rumors obviously when Dumbledore in Harry Potter says something like, "Of course, naturally, when you're trying to keep something quiet, rumors."
Everybody knows about it.
Yeah. So, rumors moved faster than that. People whispered that he was still alive, that his eyes were open, his hands were curled as if, like, clawing through the ice.
Yuck.
Whether true or not, the image fit the legend, obviously. The man would not die even when he was dead. So, the imperial family was obviously devastated. Alexandra collapsed in grief, convinced that God had taken away the only man that could save her son. She wrote letters saying she felt blind without him. Nicholas, though, was obviously more reserved, but was shaken. He exiled the murders, but did not punish them harshly. So he exiled them, but
He just said, "Bye, you're never coming back."
yeah. But that is also proof of, like, how fragile his power really had become. Rasputin had once warned Angela, or Alexandra, if he were killed by nobles, the royal family would fall. Whether he truly said those exact words, we don't know,
Yeah,
but it does
you
become
know,
true.
it does
As
happen,
we
but
all
that
know, it
that could be
Huh?
legend.
Well, as we all know, in February of 1917, bread riots turned to revolution. Soldiers refused orders, workers flooded the streets, Nicholas advocated, and the Romanovs were in prison. And in July of 1918, they were executed in a basement, shot one
Yes,
by one. The
yes,
prophecy, real or imagined, actually became part of Rasputin's legend.
yeah.
Rasputin's story did not end in Russia still. It still spread across like a dark fairy tale. Newspapers called him the Mad Monk. Artists actually painted him as like a devil. Poets called him like a demon in human skin. Writers obviously exaggerated him, and politicians
Yes,
used him. Something you think of. Everyone basically used Rasputin as proof of like what they already believed. So
yeah.
slowly, history kind of began to split the man that he was into two. So what we know, one, Rasputin the monster, a drunken sexual predator, a manipulator who used religion as a weapon, corrupt
Mhm,
force
mhm.
who helped destroy a nation, right? Then there's the other, the peasant mystic, illustrate, but like emotionally brilliant, misunderstood, used as a scapegoat, turned into a symbol because people needed someone to blame. So there's those
Yeah,
2. That actually is truthful. That's what history kind of naturally split one man into. So letters from people who had met him described him as his voice as calm and hypnotic. One woman wrote that he spoke and it felt like it was talking not to her ears, but like to her wounds. Others said he smelled bad, stared too long, and made them uncomfortable without knowing why. Psych Psychologists who later studied his behavior actually suggest he had an intuitive understanding of trauma, fear, and devotion, and maybe he listened very intensely. He touched people when they like cried. He used simple language. He offered certainty in a world that was falling apart.
mhm,
So,
mhm, yes,
really, he didn't need a whole lot to, like, switch things up. Like, he was just naturally kind of a little bit more intuitive. Um, he needed people to want things to be true, though. So, on some level, did he just lean into Alexandra's fears? And,
Yeah. That's
uh keep going,
oh,
what?
no. I'm developing my,
No.
like, final thoughts.
No, I love it. So, I think he did kind of lean into Alexandra's fears, but, like, what happened after was probably going to happen. He
I
maybe sped up the process even.
it's just so interesting to me to think that he that the that the Tsar of Russia had
Yeah.
left to lead the army, and then the Empress is all like, "Oh, I'm gonna trust this man because my son has his hemophilia under control." And so for me, I just think it's so weird that even the Tsar Nicholas was all like, "Oh yeah, no, it's cool. It's fine. He can
Yeah.
definitely," like, but also I always wanna know, like, was that really what happened, or was Nicholas kinda like, "Maybe you should be careful, don't," whatever, and then but that same token is, even if Rasputin was a manipulative person, so he was just really a forward thinker of his time and was able to see patterns and call it how he saw it, and he was like, "Oh, I see all this happening because of X, Y, and Z," and then made it seem more mystical. I don't know.
So, I think there was a collapse no matter what, but for some reason, what I remember in my readings and in history,
Yeah.
I thought the Romanovs had bad blood with Rasputin in the end, but
I
I
thought they
didn't.
did too.
So, I think he was fired as their medicine man, but I don't know what I'm confusing about that with, like, just watching Anastasia, because I think he was actually killed before any of that had happened, and people just blamed him. So,
Yeah.
that's where I get it confused, and I'm like, "What do I have mixed up here?"
Yeah,
So,
because from what you're saying is that Rasputin was murdered before the em the em the emperor the
the
empire
empire
fell.
fell. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So that's my confusion is, so if, as a person who saw things from the outside, because obviously Rasputin was a very different kind of person. He
right.
maybe had, like, used mysticism and his quote unquote holy manness to just kind of put that forethought in of, like, I see where this is going and God told me kind of thing. I don't know. It's bizarre.
Yeah. I'm going to, like, just triple check. I did check all of this when I did it. So, yeah, I just triple checked. Rasputin was murdered December 30th, 1916. Romanovs were overthrown March of 1917, but the
Mhm.
Romanovs were actually not executed until July of 1918. So Rasputin never saw the empire fall,
But
and
he
this is
called
where
it.
right, he called it, and that's where people think, like, was he intuitive or, like, was he a medicine man? Was he what he said? Was he so spiritual he could read these things?
I think he just was reading the signs of, like, what was going on with a very unhappy, empire, and people were not thrilled with the decisions that they were making, and instead of focusing on people, they were focusing on other things.
Yeah,
He might have just been a very smart politician, and from an occultist view of the people that were still in the country, they were like, "He's gotta go." You know what I mean?
right.
Saying, like, he was more analytical and he was more of a political person, and everybody was still very much in the religious dogma of everything, and so that's why they killed him, and then I don't know. I don't know.
That's kind
I
of how
really
it looks, but they were on good terms. I did clarify, I looked it back up again because I did double check this because in my mind, history was different, like, he was the reason why the Romanovs were killed. But
Yeah,
that's not the case for anyone who is also confused, like me.
because Alexandra was like, "I can't live without this man."
Basically, and that was still the way until he was murdered.
Yeah,
They still had
so
good
weird.
blood when he was murdered. So, some historians argue that without Rasputin, obviously, they think the Romanovs would have fallen. But without Rasputin, their fall would have looked pretty
Different.
grotesque. Like, yeah, would have turned more into political failure than, like, you know,
I
they
think
almost
I
made the
think
collapse seem like they were cursed.
yeah, because the people were scapegoating Rasputin as the issue.
Mhm. The Bolsheviks, which is, like, after the revolution, the Bolsheviks actually used Rasputin as propaganda. "Look what the monarchy gave you, mystics and madness." Like, he became proof of actually what the world that old world deserved to die, but his image still appeared in songs, novels, paintings, operas, like, he became pretty much a symbol. I mean, it's in a Fox Disney-owned now movie.
I think that's one of the interesting things is everybody knows who Rasputin is, and I feel like this is gonna sound crazy, but I feel like his goal of getting out of where he was when he was born and doing his pilgrimage is he wanted to be somebody, and he
Right.
ended up getting there. And it could be one of the most crazy snake oil salesman stories ever where he just played everybody to get power and control.
It could also be tragic. Like, why is nobody on the side of, like, maybe he was a little weird, but what did he necessarily do wrong? Like, rumors said he touched women and he drank too much, but, like,
But
that
that doesn't
is
make
even
you a little weird.
speculation.
But that doesn't make you weird. That makes you a danger because people who do that,
No, I'm saying
they
there's no proof of that.
there's no proof of that. That's true. It was
No.
just
So
speculation.
people
But
just, like, rumored about that, and rumors came about him being kind of weird. But, like,
okay,
what if he's just
uh,
kinda weird?
he could be just kind of weird, but also this is going into Me Too. Is do we believe the women that came forward and said all this that he did touch them in public?
So that's the thing, there's no specific women that, like, came forward. It was, like,
I mean,
rumors about him just came about.
okay, so but that I mean, I'm just thinking about it of like
You're playing
modern.
devil's advocate?
I'm thinking about like just modern times, and there are people who seek out control and power
Right,
because in any form necessary. They will do whatever
right,
they got to do to get power and control. They will
right.
lie, cheat, steal. But I will say that there are people who are honest that do get into control and all that stuff. I'm just
I believe that he like, totally, I believe that what you're saying is true. There's just a part of me that looks back on this history, and even my own mental mind had it different. Like,
oh,
I fully thought he had it, like, he was a part of them, the Romanovs getting
the
executed.
reason. Yes.
So, this
Agreed.
was all in my mind. So, when you look back on history, he was a weird kid, right?
Yes.
He
Yes.
traveled the world. So, like, let me
Yes.
just fully devil's advocate and just kinda, like, narrow it down. He was kind of weird. He traveled the world. He left, and he came back where most people would die on those trips. He came back. Then he befriended and became a medicine man for people. Then he ended up with Alexandra, a noble, right? Then rumors technically started flying around about him because he was even able to travel and come back because most people would have died. Where my mind is at is like, was any of it even true? Like, what if he was just kind of a weird dude who was intuitive, listened to people, particularly women, maybe was like comfortable around women, and then everybody just, like, blew it out of proportion, and then the Romanovs were murdered because people already felt like it was fragile.
I don't know. I could see, but okay, going into that is what if he used his connection with women as his in?
That's the part. So, because of the time period, I do not want to say he was not that way. I'm not even willing to even, like, have that argument. He could have been. I'm just saying there is not, like you said, the Me Too movement, I have not seen a single, like, human being be like, "This did happen." Like, nobody has said, like, "This happened, he did this." Most of, like, the stuff surrounding around him was rumor-based that I
So, but
found.
here's consider, but also consider this is the reason why there's rumors and talk is because people were illiterate, which means they also didn't write.
Or and some of it is true, I don't know. I'm
So
not willing to even, like, say, "No, this didn't happen." I'm just saying, like,
I,
what if he was a regular dude that was just a
yeah,
little
we're
weird and everybody's like, "Whoa, this
so
dude's going crazy."
that's where we get into the whole like everybody, and so we really don't know because when people are illiterate, they're not writing, and when they're not writing, we don't
Right.
know the truth because everything's based on verbal stories, and it's so long ago we don't have any of that.
Yeah.
It's
So, that
crazy. It's wild. And most of the people who wrote and did all these things were well-educated men mostly who went to school. They're all these things, and so it's like you don't
and
know
that
what to
is
believe.
an operative word, men.
Men.
Were men going to give the full story? No, not necessarily, and I'm not, like, a man-hating woman right now,
No.
I'm just saying, like, historically, men might not have been great to women at one point, so are they going to keep a record of one man not being great to a woman? Probably not. So
Yeah. And so that I think that's so this story is very fascinating because we really don't have any concrete information about anything.
right.
And it's funny, and now that I'm saying that, I'm also thinking about like all the rest of history. Like we
Yeah,
don't they
and
wrote it, but does that make it true?
that is also something that, like, is in a huge debate because it's written one-sided versus, like, through that country. So, like, we have American history.
And
We
that's
have
but that's also in
world
American
history
history
written
though.
by an American.
Yes, and then we have, but I think as we get into our American history, we're starting to get to more of that realm of literacy, where women are starting to write, people with different viewpoints are starting to write, which is why we have the ability to see it from
Yeah,
all sides versus
but
from
that's the
just the
thing.
school.
We have American history, right?
Oh God,
Germany
yes,
has a
has
very
German
different
history.
Germans have a very different like, tale of events, and so that happens around the whole entire world,
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
so even decades later, Rasputin's presence obviously is still in imagination and is everywhere in Russian
Uh huh.
memory, like paintings, folklore, all of that. Historians, like we have just been discussing, have debated for years what was real and what was fabricated. Some accounts, especially from nobility and politicians who despise him, exaggerated his sexual encounters and drinking habits to paint him as immortal. Others, particularly,
Immoral.
yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, that is immoral. Others, particularly, like journalists, added drama to like what was surrounding him. But scholars today note that the letters reflected desperation, fear, and general belief in Rasputin's spiritual power. So Rasputin's influence often is like an insight into like religion and politics in the early 20th century in Russia. The Orthodox Church was losing authority, and secular state was struggling to maintain. So basically, like having Rasputin, I don't know. The perception is just wild. It's just all like, what actually happened? Um, his death in December was basically as dramatic as his life and continued on. And things just kept going from him. And then, obviously, we know it's influenced movies, it's influenced culture. So, modern scholars still have approached Rasputin, like, they're still doing that. In Rasputin's story, psychologically, Rasputin presents, like, a study in charisma, manipulation, in perceived power. Like, he might have been a person who actually had no power, but people perceived him,
Yes.
and it led to fears no matter what. That's kind of where we're left off with him. Like, there's no real he was a man of flesh, blood, and became a figure of legend. So,
Yeah.
isn't that story just nuts, though?
Yeah, that's why I'm left in, like, when we put everything together, it's just crazy to think illiteracy and people not being regularly educated is a very puts puts history in a precarious place, and so we really don't have the truth of the matter, and, like, now I'm glad we have the ability to video record and capture things
Right.
now so we can say, "This did happen. I have video evidence." But now we're getting to the world of AI, and now AI can create video, and now we can't even trust video.
Right, but there's actually, like, a lot of, there's a list of how to find scholarly sites, and I recommend anybody do that, because
Yeah.
something that happens a lot, and I studied this, but, this was, like, in a class for, I don't know, research, I think. Anyways, what happens a lot of times is somebody might take a factual article or the video or something, but they break it down and they'll take a quote from something that they can quote the source still, but it's
Yes.
not necessarily the full quote or source. They're like tearing it apart. We all know this stuff happens, but look into finding a scholarly source. Because if you do that and you learn how to like find it, basically, like ads was a big red flag. If they don't have an author, that's a big red flag. If they have several authors and several publishing dates, that's a big red flag. Because realistically, to be published out into the world, they have to put where their information comes from. If they have 0 links or authors or any of that, huge red flag. You shouldn't listen to any of that. There's so many other things like that. Like you can you can figure it out. You can Google it of, like, how to find a proper scholarly source, but yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. Like, it's crazy right now, and
Yeah.
it's probably gonna get worse, you're right, with AI. I haven't really put much thought into that because everybody is so against AI. They get
Huh.
that, but
Yeah. So,
yeah,
I guess we're that's the story of Rasputin, and we really
yeah.
still have no answers, my favorite kind of ending.
I know, all of them. So for this episode, though, there's some great sources I use. So Douglas Smith writes about Rasputin, Faith, and Power and the Twilight of the Romanovs. Was written in 2016. There's
Oh,
also, um, the EBSCO researchers starters. They write about Grigori. I can't even bother saying his middle name. It's crazy. Rasputin. There's also New York Penguin Books, 1997. It's called A People's Tragedy: The Russian Revolution. Okay. The Britannica,
Britannica?
thank you, encyclopedia has a lot on Rasputin as well. And then I have a couple more. World History Encyclopedia also has a lot on Rasputin, and then Alpha History. I actually got a lot of my information. You can get a downloadable of the Penguin, um, the New York Penguin books, the A People's Tragedy, The Russian Evolution, almost the whole beginning of our episode was kind of from that. So,
Oh,
like,
cool.
me setting the tone, I just wanna tell people, like, where and there's so many other, like, sources out there. You can get all kinds of sources, but yeah, I hope you had fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed that very much.
Good. Good. So did I.
Uh, I just it's one of those things where when you put into context, like, time of, like, that part of the Russia time period, their history versus where the United States history was at that time, and you think, "Holy crap," and then just everything that it makes everything, like, really what was going on. So
Oh,
it's
that is so true. Like, I never have thought about that. I've never once been like, "Hey, I wonder where Russia was during, like," you know, so we talk about World War One in this, but, like, I've never been like, "Where was Russia in 1776 when the
yeah,
United States was, like, signing the Declaration?" Like,
we're forming a whole new nation, and Russia is getting out of feudalism.
yeah, basically. And that is some, like, whoa, shit. That is some stuff
Yeah.
that's like, "Holy shit, why don't we talk and think about that stuff more?"
So my final thought, which is interesting, going into all this is thinking is our history as a whole, I feel like if teachers were able to start connecting that like, just so you know, in 1776 US history, this is happening. But in Russia, this is happening. And it's the
That
end
is
of
a
feudalism.
great idea. That's a
Because
great
then
idea, Nathan. That would be
because
nice.
it just draws the craziness of how different history is for each, like, the fall of Rome. Okay, so cool, you're telling me about the fall of Rome whenever that was, but what was happening in, like, what
Around
was going
all of
on
that.
around it? Yeah, what was happening around
Yeah.
it instead of just giving me that macro view of the fall of Rome? What was happening in
You're
these other
right.
countries, and were they
It would give
developing? Were they
such a bigger picture of history and a broader understanding of the world, I think, in general. That is such a great idea.
Yeah, when gunpowder was discovered in China, when they, like, you made it happen, the magic dust is what was happening in Europe during that time.
Yeah.
What period of time were they at? Because we normally, when we hear of, like, feudalism, or we hear of the Renaissance or all these things, we have this vision of what it is for the whole world happening at that time. You know what I
But
mean? I don't
that's
know, it's just
not yeah.
yeah.
I that is so interesting. I did that was not my takeaway. My takeaway is actually more obviously about, like, the rumors. And I'm
Yeah.
like, where does that leave him actually? Like, was he just, like, kind of a weird dude that had a lot of rumors about him? That, like, what was true? What wasn't? What good did he bring into the world? Because everybody focuses on the negative for him.
Yeah.
Or was he a fucking terrible person? Sorry for my language. Maybe he was. I don't know. It just
Ladies seem to like him, apparently.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's actually something to note. Ladies felt comfortable around him. So maybe was he just surrounded about by women and people were like, "Oh, he's saying sanctuary for," but like maybe did the ladies just like him cuz he listened. I don't know. None of us
Yeah.
know. And what sucks is his whole embodiment is so surrounded around rumors and not truths. We won't know.
The fact that you keep saying rumors just makes me think of the song of "Have you heard? There's a rumor in St.
Yeah,
Petersburg."
I mean, you do that so much better than I could possibly try right now, but, like,
The
yes,
Romanovs did not survive, but one daughter may still be alive. The Princess
exact
Anastasia.
oh, and also for anyone who doesn't know, that actually happened. Somebody lived as Anastasia for years before DNA testing. So we're just throwing that out there. That's the end of our episode.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on That's Peculiar. See you next week for another episode.